you have given me a lot of food for thought. We will get back to you after all the 3 papers. Okay, so the second speaker is Dr. Theyiesinuo, Keditsu, the charming lady, and she is going to speak on a very, very important subject. The topic is in our own imagery, indigenizing poetry in English through folklore. Well, English poetry, basically poetry is again the subject of my interest. I am a poet, so I am looking forward to know some interesting and important points from you. As Dr. Nandini already talked about her biography, she is author of 2 important books. So let's give her a second. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. You know, Angamis usually, traditionally, we used to do our field work in Keditsu, which are age groups like gangs. And there's a saying that, you know, the hard-working person goes first and tills the field. But the clever person is the one who arrives after the soil is soft and does the planting. And I really want to thank Dr. Walunir because he has hard-working qualities and has tilled the field, and here, watch me sow. Just such a wonderful paper, but I think it presents the perfect foundation for what I want to do today. Exactly what he's saying about, you know, frozen time and text, and to contest the idea of folklore as something that is antiquarian, something that is only stuck in the past. Because now, as if some of you are familiar with Gangdhi, he redefined folklore as anything that a group of people believe, and hence widened the scope of folkloristics beyond traditional indigenous forms to contemporary urban forms. So now we have urban folklore, contemporary folklore, etc. So in this context, I just very briefly want to, you know, speak about Ngugi wa Thiong'o, an essay that he wrote that I think has very personal resonance for me and many people in this room, about decolonizing the mind, and how literature was, you know, one of the most, how to say, insidious instruments of colonization. This comes from a very, the meaning of this essay hits me again and again because I teach in Kohima, I teach to an almost all Naga student population. And just for example, one of the poems that we have to teach is Lotus Eaters. In the process of teaching Lotus Eaters, they learn about Greek mythology, they learn about colonization, they learn about the Opium Wars, they learn about you know, in a sense, Orientalist foliage, etc. So many things, but they do not learn about us. And over and over again, I've been teaching for more than 5 years now in Nagaland. The irony and the absolute farce of standing in front of a group of Naga people, telling them about everything else, about everybody else's culture, except ours. Teaching them about the flora and fauna of everything else except ours is something that, you know, goes beyond the academic to becoming something quite personal. And I think that's something that has informed my creative writing. I'd just like to read something. I'll be reading some poems for you as we go. In the age of Instagram, Facebook, where we all want to post about where we've traveled and the wine we've had and the cheese we've had, this is a poem called Stranger. And having traveled all over the world, you return home to roam in forests filled with trees whose names you do not know. And then there is, so, you know, why poetry? Because it comes naturally, I think, to all of us who write creatively. Some forms, some genres come more naturally to us. Yes, that is true. But I think another reason why I chose poetry is because, as Dr. Walunir has said, you know, it bridges the gap, the gap between writing and performance. Because I tell my young students this, who think they've discovered the cool thing of spoken word poetry, that no, this is not a new thing. the poems of civilizations all over the world began as spoken word. In fact, poetry is an oral form. And I think that's very important because for Nagas, we are an oral culture. Writing is a technology, it's a form of signification that we're learning just now. And I find that, when you want to try and reach out to people, poetry is the thing because recitation, speaking it allows for, I think, the exercising of certain kinds of oral muscles that we already have, we've evolved to have as Nagas. And that's why I chose poetry. But then there's the writing in English. Unfortunately, this is just a personal problem I have. I'm from a mixed marriage, and my parents also, unfortunately, belong to, the missionized, educated group whose minds were colonized into thinking that currency in English was the answer for their children to succeed in everything in life. So priority was given to teaching us English, and in that process, learning the vernacular was, that wasn't a priority. And so I find myself, in a sense, voiceless. But I also find that, okay, I have proficiency in English. And whatever it is, the sad fact is that literacy in the world today, in a sense, almost equates with a proficiency in English. So instead of complaining about the status quo, how do we take advantage of this scenario, particularly when you want to really reach across to young people who don't like to read, but don't mind listening to a poem or two? And there's a great kind of self-consciousness, a kind of, an apologetic second citizen feeling when you approach writing English in poetry. And this is another poem, it's called Pigeon. Is my language clumsy? Does the sound of my verse disturb you? Syncopating to an unnatural rhythm, jabbering and gargling like muddy waters convulsing over rough rocks when a new stream is born. So, in a sense, writing English need not be mimicry. I'll use it in all, because so many of you are from literature, I use it in all the senses that you can think of. It need not necessarily be that, it can be that. But it really allows for a way for us to resist this colonization, to write back, to, infiltrate the kind of poetry that already exists, and to present something different. And so, because, like I said, when you read poetry, when you teach poetry, it's about teaching culture, it's about populating the mental universe of your children and your students with the stuff of poetry or literature. And that stuff, wouldn't it be nice if that stuff was the stuff that was us? So the title of my paper plays on this, the creation phrase, which is God said, let us make man in our own image. Wouldn't it be great if we composed literature, wrote poetry in our own imagery, so that when the Naga reads literature written by Nagas, they encounter us. They see a mirror. They see into the world that is real for us and not simply mimicking. Because again, to use an example from a writer, I won't say, but you all will know, but some writer, a Naga writer, in the novel one of the novels that we have to teach in the syllabus, there's a phrase where the child, who's a village girl, says she was bathing and she thought she would die of pneumonia. What is that? Which village girl in Nagaland knows about pneumonia? So, of course, it's slippage that may be not conscious. It's also because these writers are also, they belong to a generation that were, in a sense, not even trained, brainwashed into thinking that there is a proper way to write. And that proper way to write is about daffodils and fairies and gnomes, and not about our realities. So what do I do? What do I try to do? It is simply an attempt. For example, I try to use the flora and fauna of Nagaland, what we know. And it's taken a lot of research because I also, like most counterparts, I can tell you which one is the Japanese maple, but I can't tell you the name of the tree that I've seen my whole life. And it's taken a lot of, going back, retrieving oral narratives, bothering old people who think they don't know anything, to tell me the names of these plants. One that I will read for you, one tree that has become very significant for me is the alder tree. If there's some Angamis here, but I think most of us who do June cultivation, you will know the alder tree is very important ecologically because it has nitrogen-fixing bacteria in its roots. It's a fast-growing tree. It has roots that holds on to soil, so it helps in land regeneration, in land integrity, and because it's fast-growing, it's also used as a timekeeper for traditional agriculturists, so that every 4 or 5 years, after the branches have grown or after the branches have been cut, it is a signal for farmers to move on to the next batch. So I've written so many poems called Alder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And this is Alder 3. The sight of charred hillsides bring despair, I know. Sooty sterile slopes where only blackness grows. But see, in the midst of all this madness, the sturdy alder stubbornly stands, knotted and deformed by years of taming, and yet not subdued. Nature's reprimand to us for all our petty meddling, in matters that transcend our human powers. For while we lose this land that makes us who we are, this prophet stands and mutely tells, with each unfurling leaf, our extinction is not too far. The leaves, they age and bid burden-browned farewells. And when our land can no longer bear us, the alder still will stand on hills of bones and dust. Now, this is a sonnet. One of the things that I like to do, besides working with free-verse forms, is also to look at forms that have been appropriated and colonized by English. Because my favorite ones are the sonnet and the sestina, which are traditionally Italian forms that have really been taken, and a lot of people think of these as English language forms. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could rework these forms? So, just an example. The other one that I will read for you is called Wild Figs. In Angami, wild figs are called chede. How many of you have had wild figs? Delicious wild figs. Yay! But the very interesting about this chede was, the inspiration for this poem came from a day in the marketplace when I was with my daughter, and I picked up this fruit, and she said she wanted to eat it, so I was trying to, peel it. I was trying to do something, and I was very uncomfortable with this fruit. And this old woman just picked it. She said, "What's the fuss?" She just broke it, turned it inside out, and said, "Just fed it to my daughter," and she had it. And I thought that was so beautiful. There's something so, immediate and intimate about being able to eat fruit like that. But at the same time, I'm reading this from a book called Sokonyo, which talks about, women's negotiations with Naga patriarchy. I think I'll read it first. Chede. Some fruits were not meant for cutting, formed when stones were soft and birth was still a kind of bursting. See how wild fig flesh bruises when cut by these alien knives, unschooled in surgical assault. No, that firm, hard flesh next to skin was not meant to greet the moist of our mouths, but for holding, yielding to the trembling tear of fingers, arcing back to offer its swells and scents for succor, to some woman returning from the fields, sapped but ready for an evening of chores, and the return of a husband who will not ask or care about the right way to eat figs. And I think winter, autumn time, if you come to Kohima, you'll see there's a plant that has only one white leaf. Have you all seen that? Have any of you seen that, or have you been in JNU for so long that you don't remember? But it's a wild plant that you find almost all over the Naga hills. And I believe I did again a lot of research, but the English name for it is called the white wing. It's a plant where only one leaf in the the set of leaves is white, so they look like white flowers. And they look like candles, especially when you're driving in the dark. They look like beautiful candles in the night. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to weave this? Because again, another thing that comes up in a lot of creative writing by the Nagas is this concept of the ocean. Yes, okay, fine, it can also be tied back to folklores and origin myths of our journey through or past oceans. That is true. But in a sense, right now, for me teaching Nagas who have not even crossed over to Dimapur about the ocean can be slightly disconcerting. So I wanted to present this idea of, because even if we are from the hills and we've never seen the ocean, we do experience this sense of infinite vastness in different ways. And so this poem is called Night Wind. Water is not the only thing that makes oceans. You would know if you have been swept through the fast fading delta of day into vast ocean black. And here, tossed in the waves and folds of darkness, our towns are churned in the mouth of night into incandescent pearls of light. Swimming against the tide of falling earth, wood and green, single flames of white wing dot the dark like stars that urge the first men to sail the seas. Then, moving to folklore. I'm going to do this very quickly because I don't have time. Okay, but very quickly. Moving to folklore. The origin story of Angamis. Our supreme sacred being was not a man. It was a woman. Ukepenyopa. It literally means the one who birthed us. And the story goes that Ukepenyopa had 2 sons. And she was married to, she had a husband who was very, terrifying to look at and hid himself. So one day when the son saw her, he said, now that they've seen me, I have to leave. And so one son went with him and became the father, the ancestor of the plains. And one son stayed back with her. And that son became our forefather. Again, in the context of patriarchy, divorce, etc. This is a poem I wrote. After having endured it all, the heartbreak of parting, chasing after one son in your dreams, raising the other on your own, inventing stories about your father's glorious escapades, dressing his betrayal as some noble cause for fear that your son may falter if he knew the truth. How does it feel when your sons forget your pain, your struggle, and allow strangers to usurp your name and bequeath it to a foreign god, and that too a father? And this comes because Ukepenyopa was used by the American missionaries to replace God in the Bible. And so in our Angami Bible, Ukepenyopa stands for as a substitute for Jehovah and God. Okay, so I think I've been told I don't have any more time, which is very sad. The other form that really interests me is this Italian form called the sestina. This is a 39-line form. It's a 39-line poetic form that has 6 stanzas and the last one half 3-line stanza. Now these 6 stanzas and the half 3-line stanza, they work in a very beautiful pattern. The last words of each of the first 6 lines the last words in the first stanza are repeated in a pattern that becomes a concentric circle. So the reason why the sestina really fascinates me is because if you have ever heard people telling stories in our vernacular, the way our grandparents or the village people, the way they tell stories, it is that. It seems very long, drawn out, but there is, in the midst of that length and the absolute boredom and the sleepiness, there is this pattern of, this hypnotizing, moving concentric circle of words and patterns. And that is why the sestina really interests me. One. Now with this poem, it brings together so many things. It brings together the folklore that we tell about others, contemporary folklore that we tell about the other, the Indian woman. Folklore that helps us to bear our existence and our reality. The second is, this is called the hibiscus, and I thought, what is an indigenous plant? What is an indigenous flower here in our Naga hills? And hibiscus is one of those. Now what happens with the hibiscus is, it is an extremely hardy plant. It does not need rain. It can survive lots of rain. It can survive almost anything, and that is why it impressed me. But I also had a very interesting conversation with a Santhal lady who said that the hibiscus is a symbol of Kali, their version of Kali. And remember, even for the Santhal people, Kali has been appropriated by, mainstream Hinduism but for them, it's a completely different kind of, relationship. And so, so many things. Again, the folklore of dyeing and textiles. Women were not allowed to use the red of madder. So then, because they thought that the red of madder, because it's red color, it looks like blood, was taboo and it would affect the women. So only the old women, widowed women, were allowed to dye these textiles into red. All the cloths woven are for men. Women weave it for men, but it speaks of the men's identities, especially in councils where men sit together. A man earns a right or enjoys the prestige of having more authority over the other men by virtue of the shawl that he wears. Of course, he has to earn it with his own deeds, but the shawl is woven and conferred upon him by women. And finally, the folklore of dreams. Again, this goes back to Angami, but for Angamis, in your dream, if you're wearing new clothes, it's a very bad omen. It means that, death is near, death is going to die. It's also a bad omen to divide rivers, to block rivers, to cut rivers. And so I will read this poem and I will end, I promise, I'm done. Hibiscus. Oh no, we don't do things as barbaric and heartless as burning brides for money or killing fetuses because they are female. No, we grow and temper our women to bend without breaking, or if they must break, to break without a fuss, silently, in stealth, in secret, in solitude. A woman's pain should not be a spectacle for others to see and pity. No, we teach our women resilience so they can survive without succor and bloom without months of rain like the hibiscus. Solitary tongues of nightwing must have seen Soponyor that night, helpless. Had the hibiscus stood watch, her tale may not have ended with stone, a chronicler's subtle way of killing, but told of how the red-tongued flower turned terrifying goddess and helped her survive, slaying her tormentor and brought back his head severed and bleeding on a bamboo, bending from the weight of the silence custom demands from women cursed to suffer. Acts that have no words or place. In chronicles, men tell their sons, but are passed on silently, like our stones and monoliths, outliving generations of men, speaking silently of things that cannot be told but must be known, like the many-forked tongue of the hibiscus, a voiceless Babel,
hissing at the way men congress to discuss matters or fight for their honor, wearing cloths dyed by women with madder that bid enemies to kill and take the heads of the dyers. Aged women who give the last of their strength to bend over pots of red, or those whose hands stain blue or black so the stories of women can survive, as patterns on cloth to muted sapia, reaching and grasping for memories pulled into the quicksand of forgetting, or is it apathy? While so many women survive now still, because the light in their children's eyes sustained them through times when life is killing their spirits, parting woman from woman by servitude to fathers, brothers, husbands, and sons, silently eating into the times mothers spent sharing their dreams with their daughters at dawn, while hibiscus woke from wandering the realm of sleep, where men wearing newly woven cloths bent over rivers and prepared to cut them into new roads for their sons, and brazenly called the hills to bend and bow to them. Prophecy from an old dying religion that men cleansed in new blood do not suffer, blind to the life that yet lives in our forests and the blood that throbs in the hibiscus, which was once used by ancients to cure the very ailments men now fight to survive, even as their women inter the shame of their men into unmarked graves of silence. So while their men learned warfare and ventured out to avenge a killing, our foremothers learned to teach their daughters they must bend to survive, suffer silently, for the vows of men and not droughts kill the hard-wearing hibiscus. Thank you.